recording is it will be available for you directly after today's webinar. We'll get the email out a little earlier than usual to get this sent over to you so you can review it at your leisure. And then we do have the ability to ask questions. We have the questions panel. All the questions we will be looking at, and we'll hopefully be answering them throughout the webinar, but if for some reason we don't, we'll be answering these questions at the end. And last but not least, we have some handouts here available for you. One of them being today's slide deck that we're going to be going over today, as well as the one-page sheet, or two-page sheet actually, going over the different levels of integration you can get with Barcoders in M.O.M 10. So today's agenda is quite simple. We're going to intro into Barcoders. We're going to understand the setup, and Gordon's going to go over and do a nice demonstration of Barcoders, and then we're going to leave it up to questions. Before we go over and introduce Gordon and let him do things, Jim Cahill just has a couple of things he wants to talk about.
Thank you, Sean. And we've been looking forward to this webinar for quite some time now, simply because one of the questions we get most from our customers as they expand their businesses is how to handle warehouse activities, transactions, and tracking in a more productive manner. M.O.M can certainly do a lot for you, but at a certain point in your business growth, you may find the need to be able to have more automated tasks in the warehouse. And Gordon will be hitting that subject very, very hard today, because that's his business. He is an expert in the field, and he certainly knows our customer base. He already has customers using M.O.M along with his solution. And he'll be covering a lot of topics that we get questions on. The fact of how to handle putaways better, how can you handle multiple POs and multiple tasks throughout the warehouse, how can you reduce the travel time in warehouses, in your warehouse, by automating tasks, by giving clear directions to some of your warehouse pickers. How can you introduce barcode scanning, mobile barcode scanning into the warehouse, and what kind of return on investment and process improvements might you expect with that? There certainly are a lot to talk about today, but I think at the conclusion of the webinar, you felt confident that Barcoders, when combined with M.O.M, will really help to extend the functionality of M.O.M further into the warehouse than it is right now. It will marry nicely with Shippo and give you automated processes from the time that you take an order into the time where Gordon can help you to fulfill an order and then ship it. So with all of that, I'd like to introduce Gordon. And Gordon, if you'd like to take it away, please.
Sean, Jim, thank you for that. I appreciate the introduction. Yeah, we've been around for 18 or 19 years helping e-commerce companies automate their warehouse functionality. As you know, in today's market, you have a lot of channels where you sell your product, and M.O.M can help you manage those channels. And when you have inventory across multiple channels, it's critical, it's imperative that you keep them accurate. So the virtual quantity that's out there across these multiple channels needs to be in sync with the actual physical quantity that's in your warehouse. And if they're not in sync, then what happens is if you have either more listed than you have in your warehouse, then you're going to oversell. If you have less listed than what you have in your warehouse, then you're going to undersell. So the goal here is Barcoders working with M.O.M is to make your physical inventory as accurate as possible, so that then ripples up to your virtual inventory, which then goes out over all your channels and makes you more efficient, and it makes them more accurate. Also, in warehouse, there's a lot of efficiencies that you can gain by automating a lot of the manual tasks, the picking, the lookup, that kind of thing. So, Sean, if you can give me control of that, I'll go ahead and launch the demo.
Sure, just sending over the presentership to you now.
All right, everybody, can you see the screen okay now?
Yep, we can see it over here.
Okay, let me give you a little introduction here, and hopefully these will be visible to all. This is a diagram that kind of shows how our system works with M.O.M. Currently, you have your workstations up here, and they're running an instance of M.O.M. By the way, we interface with the M.O.M 10 API, so if you're not there, then we recommend that you update to the API, the 10 API, in order to gain the full functionality. So I'm going to have an instance of it here on this computer to show you. You're all familiar with this screen. I'll just minimize it. So you have an instance of M.O.M 10 running on these workstations, and they in turn access your SQL server back here in a server room. Well, what we do is we send out what's called an RF server. It's a little small form factor PC running Windows or a 64-bit version of Windows. It does several things. One is it's the intermediary between our scanners and the M.O.M API. Number two, it's where you set all the variables that you can set in our system. For example, employees. I'll show you that in a minute. And it also gathers data, local data, productivity data. Any move, adds, or change that you make with our system is recorded so that you can view that through the web interface that our system provides. Out in the warehouse, you'd have access points, and the number of access points really varies by the size of your warehouse. A small warehouse can get by with one. Larger warehouses need multiple access points. Once you have the square footage of your warehouse saturated with the radio frequency then you can have 1 to 100 scanners roaming wirelessly roaming the warehouse and gleaning information and making changes to M.O.M that you currently have to walk back into the office and do on a workstation. So a lot of efficiencies will be gained there as well. So let me show you the scanners that we sell. We're a dealer for Data Logic. So here on the right are the Data Logic products. They make a Falcon and a Scorpio. And then on the left, we sell reconditioned versions of those, by the way, and we also sell reconditioned versions of the Motorola product. The goal here is to get a good functional terminal that will be a robust industrialized scanner, but will also provide the functionality that you need. And with our 18 plus years experience in the warehouse industry, I used to work for Symbol, and then they were purchased by Motorola, and recently they were purchased by Zebra. So very familiar with scanners and how they work, and et cetera, et cetera. So the Dr. Pepper can there is just to show you relative size, so you get an idea of how big they are in relationship to something you're familiar with. As far as functionality goes, they function all the same. We don't sell a scanner unless it's got a full alphanumeric keypad, which allows you to enter SKUs or information, both alpha and numeric, very quickly without having to shift in and out like you do on an abbreviated keyboard. The screens are backlit. They're large enough that you can, read information from them, et cetera, et cetera. So with that said, let me give you a little background about the system. We give employees an E number, and therefore we can track any move, add, or change that's done in your warehouse by the employee of who did what when. So you can go out and make some very inexpensive ID badges for your employees. It lends an air of professionality to the warehouse. I got most of this stuff at Office Max or Office Depot, and you can just issue a badge to each one of your employees. The other thing, it may sound trite, but in order to take advantage of a barcode system, two things need to be barcoded. Number one is your SKUs, and we look in M.O.M for the SKU. We can look at the name, or we can look at the ISBN. So if I launch my M.O.M and I go in here to product, and let me just call up an item real quick and show you the database that I have is based on a sporting goods store. So if I go in and look at the yoga ball, in the inventory and the general, I'll do the general tab first. We search for whatever's in the stock number when you scan it, or the barcode, as I mentioned before, could be a UPC, an EAN, whatever's in this field we look for, and then whatever's in this field we also look for. So when I say a SKU barcode, I mean any one of those three fields that I just pointed out in M.O.M. Then we recommend, it's highly recommended that you label your locations and you organize your warehouse in a fashion that I'm going to explain here in a second. So this is kind of a bird's eye view of a warehouse, and most of you have already had experience doing this. And you can see that there's an aisle A1 here, an aisle B1, a B2, a C1, a C2, and so on and so forth. This is so when you label your locations, then you can put away things very quickly. You can go find things very quickly, and it helps with the picking process. For example, you can hire someone in the morning, literally give them 15 minutes of training, hand them one of our scanners, and they can go out and pick orders in your warehouse because you've explained to them where they need to go. And then you have the rack space, which is here 01, 02, 03, 04, as you can see. And then if I move down the aisle, let's say I turn down an aisle and I stand right in front of one of the racks, then there would be further definition for the shelf and the bin. So for example, this bin right here is on aisle D1. It's the 6th rack, it's the 2nd shelf, and it's the 3rd bin. So there would be a barcode right here that says D1, 06, 02, 03. And this is kind of what they would look like when they've been implemented. This is a customer that we have here in the Phoenix area. They printed out their location barcodes, attached them to magnetic strips, and then the magnetic strips adhere to the front of their shelves. That way they can remove them if needed. They can move them left or right. They can replace them. They can, if they want to expand and add one, they can do that very quickly and very easily without any residue on the shelf label. All right, so we have programs that come when you get our system. We have programs that help automate those functionalities. So you can go into like an Excel spreadsheet, enter all your locations, and then use a program we have to print to a barcode printer. So having said that, the two things that need barcoded, obviously, are your products and then your locations. Now, if I showed you if I picked up a scanner and ran through our program, you obviously couldn't see it. So we have a little emulator that we run that shows you what it would look like if you're holding a pistol grip in your hand and looking down at the screen. So this is what it would look like. You just simply click on the icon and you log in. We have one generic icon that all employees use as the first step in security, and that prevents like a UPS driver or a spouse or significant other from walking in the warehouse. Let's say they're waiting to go to a dental appointment and picking up a scanner and playing around with your inventory. They would need to know this login in order to even get to the first level. I entered it wrong here, so let me try it again. Okay, so once you get in, there's this is the menu of the current functionality that we offer. Let me go back, and when I said that the RF server maintains the functionality of our system, what it does is it runs a web interface, and so you just enter the IP address of the RF server, and this would pop up. And from here, you can do order lookup. You can look at reports and things like that without having to log in. So your customer service people can look up an order, see who picked it, packed it, shipped it, etc. And you can run reports and that type of thing without logging in. Nothing can be changed or affected that way. But if I want to add a new employee, for example, I would have to log in. So I log in using the name that we pre-program in, and when I get in here now, what happens is this will now attach to the database the tables that we create, and I can look at employees here. So when I click on employees, you can see that I have 4 employees entered into this test system that I'm going to show you. When you enter an employee, you can also set security level. So certain employees can do certain things in your warehouse. Like myself, Gordon Jennings, I'm a level 3. A rule of thumb is that a level 3 can move items in the warehouse, and they can change location and change quantity. A level 2 can change locations, but they can't change quantities. And a level 1 can pick orders, but they can't do anything that makes any kind of significant change to the warehouse. So if I go back here, you see that Roger Ramjet is set at a level 1, and I'm at a level 3. So I have functionality that he does not. I just wanted to show you that when we get started here. Our first program, and now understand that this is something you do with a wireless scanner from the aisles of your warehouse that you can do all this functionality that I'm going to show you. So let me call up this Y ball again, and now I'm going to go to inventory. If I wanted to know where this is located, and if I wanted to know what's in each location, I would have to go back to, currently I'd have to go back to a terminal, and I would have to call up this screen, and over here are the bin numbers, so I can hit the down arrow, and it shows me a list of all the locations in the warehouse where it is, and it shows me the quantity in each one. I can see the units in stock, et cetera, et cetera. You're all real familiar with this. But if I go into lookup, I can basically see the same thing that I see in this screen. Now, again, I can type in Y ball, or I can type in the UPC, or I can type the ISBN. So I'm going to just type in Y ball to show you, and it's going to go in through the M.O.M 10 API, and it makes a call and retrieves this information. And you can see that it's basically exactly the same thing that you currently see on the screen now. There's 214 in stock, there's 1 committed, and that means net on the shelf is 215, and here's how they're distributed. There's 100 in this location, 100 in this location, and 100 in this location. We support up to 4 locations, so you can have 4 locations with multiple quantities in each location. So it's a pretty powerful program. It shows you information about SKUs, so you can return them to the shelf. For example, return items. You can, if you found something laying on the floor by mistake, you can pick it up and scan it, and it'll tell you exactly where it goes in the warehouse, and other things as well. You can use this as the first step in cycle counting, excuse me, by giving it to someone that has a lower level, and they can go out and they could scan a SKU, and they can then look up and see if the information is accurate, and if not, put a red tag or red sticker on the bin, and then have a supervisor come along later and make corrections. Working hand in hand with this is what we call cycle count. Cycle count's a real powerful program, and because of that, it has to have at least a level 2 or a level 3 employee. So lookup doesn't make any changes, and so it didn't require anybody to log in. It's just a benign program that doesn't make any changes, but cycle count does, and so I have to log in. And so now that I've logged in, it showed me the same screen that I had before with lookup, but this time when I scan items, I will go ahead and scan the barcode this time of Y ball, and it comes up and it shows me the same information that I saw in lookup, SKU, description, UPC, et cetera, but now I can actually make changes. I can make changes to the location by typing L1, L2, L3. I can change the quantities in those locations. I can transfer quantity between locations. I can actually modify the UPC. I can add a bin, or I can delete a bin. And there's some stipulations on those as well. You can add a bin if there's up to 4. If there's more than that, it won't let you. And you can delete a bin, but obviously it has to be empty, and then it can't be the primary bin associated with that SKU. Those are the stipulations. So let me just demonstrate this real quick. I'll do a transfer, and it asks me, what location do you want to transfer from? So theoretically, I would walk to the location. Let's say I want to go to B2, O2, O1, O3, and I want to take all 100 and transfer them to the primary location. So I can go to that location, and this is where the barcode comes in handy. On the shelf would be the location B2, O2, O1, O3, and I would scan that. I don't happen to have that with me, so I can type in an abbreviated one. I can type in L3, and it will say, okay, I'm going to transfer from L3. Where are you going to transfer to? I'm going to transfer to L1. Again, I could walk to that location and scan the barcode of the location, and it would say, okay, how many are you going to transfer? By the way, it validated that those are locations associated with the SKU and allows you to transfer up to the quantity in the from bin. So I'm going to transfer all 100 just to show you how this works. And by the way, while we're here, let me go over here and click the down arrow, and you see the 3 locations now, 14, 100, and 100. It reflects over here as well, 14, 100, 100. So let me go back over here, and I'm going to transfer all 100. When I hit enter, it gives me a summary down below from L3 to L1, 100, and I type yes. And now what it does is it goes through the API and it transfers those. So if I come back over here to the screen and I exit and I come back in again, and I go back to inventory and I look at the locations, you'll now see that 100 have been transferred from B2 to A1, 07, 03, 04, and that was instantaneous through the M.O.M 10 API. So now if I scan it again, Y-ball, you'll see that it's been reflected here as well. And now I can delete the bin by typing DB, and it will ask me, okay, what bin do you want to delete? I do L3, and when I hit enter, the process was successful. If I scan it again, Y-ball, you see that now there's only 2 bins associated with that. And again, if I refresh the screen over here and go back into it, you'll now see that Y-ball now only has 2 locations associated with it, and that the bin has been deleted. So I won't take the time to do the other functionality, but as Jim said, we have several customers using this right now, and they use it daily and absolutely love it. Patting myself on the back, sorry. All right, so to get back to the main menu, you just type no change, and then 999 backs you up a step, and now I'm back at the main menu. So now the question is, how do we handle picking? Well, picking can be done 2 ways with our program we call Pick, which allows you to pick a single order at any given time, or you can use what we call multi-pick, which allows you to pick up to 200 orders at the same time. By scanning all those and then making one sinuous trip through the warehouse and being able to pick all those and sort them as you go. So I'll go right down to multi-pick to demonstrate that. When I go into multi-pick, it's going to ask me for an employee because we keep, as I said earlier, we keep productivity statistics on who picked it. So now I'm going to scan up to 200 orders. So I'm going to scan order 12, and it tells me to put that in box 1. Now, what does that mean? Well, as I said, we've been around for a number of years, and we've sold over 300 systems, and so we have many customers out there that are pretty ingenious, and they've come up with picking carts that suit them. So this is one picking cart where they can pick up to 25 orders at any given time. They just got a cheap bread rack on wheels and put some plastic bins in there, and away they go. But on the front of each bin would be a barcode that says this is BX1, BX2, BX3, BX4, etc. So when I scan the packing slip from M.O.M, I would place the piece of paper in bin 1, and then I would grab another packing slip and scan that and put it in bin 2, and so on and so forth. This happens to be that customer that I showed you earlier, their shelf. They took some postal racks, took to a metal worker and they put in some dividers, and they can pick up to 12 orders at any given time. And larger items that won't fit in the cubicle will fit on top. And then so a picker will go out and pick 12 orders. When the cart's full and all 12 orders are finished picking, they slide it over to a packer shipper, and then they go get another empty cart and can pick another 12 orders. And the packer shipper, in the meantime, would use a program we call Verify to verify that all items are in there. I'll show you that in a minute. All right, so let's get back to the multi-pick. So I scanned order 12. It told me to put that in box 1. And now I'm going to scan order 1, and it's going to tell me to put that in box 2. I'm going to scan in order 3, and it's going to tell me to put that in the box as well. So let me, I need to plug my speakers in here to show you the functionality of our system. Bear with me a second here. Okay. So I'm going to plug in the speakers. So Now that I've scanned 3 orders, I could scan as many as 200, as I said earlier. For demonstration purposes, I'm limited to these 3. When I'm ready, I type 77 to pick, or I can type 55 to go in reverse order. So if I wanted to pick from front to back or back to front, I could do that, but I'm gonna do it normally from 77, typing 77. So when I do that, what it does is it goes into all 3 of those orders. It pulls out all of the items, every pickable item on there. It explodes the kits, and then it manages all of those, and it orders them by pick location, by the pick location that Mom told us to go pick from. So as you can see, Y-ball's the first thing that I'm going to pick, and it's on aisle A1. So I walk to that, and it's going to go in box 3, a little summary on the screen, and I'm going to pick 100 of them. Well, so I walk to that location, and I'm going to pick up 100 of these yoga balls, pick 100 of them. So what we recommend is you walk to the location and pick the first one in this case. Now, what happens if I scan the wrong item? Here's what happens. The scanners actually emit a sound telling the picker that you've picked the wrong item. So hopefully that would get their attention, and they can now look at the item and go, oh yeah, put the wrong one back and pick the correct one and scan it. When you've picked that one, it tells you which box to put it in, and the quantity is decremented by 1. And it shows you the last box. So in this case, I'm going to pick another 99 of them, but I don't want to scan all 99. Now, you can have that as a business rule and require your customers to scan all of those. Or you can train them to type in BB, which is bulk buy. When you type that, it says, okay, pick 100 total and hit enter when you're ready to continue. So they would go pick 100, and now they hit enter to continue, and it tells them to put that in box 3. It now moves them to the next aisle A2, and they're gonna pick a quantity of 1 of the E skates. So they walk over to where the E skates are, and they scan the barcode of that, and it tells them which box to put it in. And then they go to the aisle D1, the 3rd rack, the 5th shelf, the 7th bin over, and they're going to pick the NFL football. And so I will scan that one, and let me get there. If I scan the wrong one, let's see. Okay. So now I want to scan the correct one. Where is that one? There it is. It tells me to put that in box 2. And now it plays a little tune telling me that those orders are complete, and I'm ready to send those over to be verified, packed, and shipped. So I would now push the cart over, and as a picker, I'd go get another cart, and off I would go. So then I'll demo the next step, which is called verify. Verify is done at the packing station. So we kind of use what we call an inverted pyramid, where you have in your warehouse, let me show it here, we have multiple pickers feeding a few packers, feeding 1 or 2 shippers, and it makes each one of those more efficient. Your shipping station is usually your most expensive station because it's got a full PC, monitor, keyboard, mouse, scanner, and then it has a scale attached and probably a barcode printer so that you can print the label. And so because those are expensive resources, we allow you to limit that to the minimum number that you need in order to function correctly. So in verify, what happens is you walk over and the verifier would then be able to look at the cart. A lot of times you don't know how big of a shipping box you're going to need until you've accumulated all the items. So if this cart's sitting in front of me and I look in this cubicle and I can see the items that need to be picked, I would pull down the appropriate size box, 4x4x4 or 4x8x12 or whatever. I tape it open, and then I pull the packing slip out of this cubicle and I scan it as the verifier. So I'm sitting here and I'm going to go ahead and log in. So Melinda Blake will use this one. She logs in and she scans the order number. So she pulls the packing slip out, scans it, and it says, okay, there's order number 1 had 1 SKU and one piece. So I scan that, and it plays the tune, and now I'm done with that order. So now that order has been verified. I want to do order 12 because it was there too. It only has 1 SKU, so now I scan the SKU as they put it in the box, and now that it's done, I can seal the box and pass it over to the shipper. I do the next order, which was order 8, and 8 had 100 items on there. So I can, as I move them from the pick cart to the ship box, I scan them. And you'll notice that as I scan them, it actually counts down, like the pick software did. In this case, I can also use BB, and it will tell me, okay, how many of these are remaining, enter quantity to verify. So I would type in 94 and hit enter. And then that order has now been verified. And then the last step in our order fulfillment process is what we call sign. And this was actually requested by one of our customers. They wanted to know, while we don't do the shipping, we recommend you use the shipping station that you currently have, the one that you like the best. They wanted to know in that lookup screen, that order lookup screen, who the person was at the shipping station at the time that it was shipped. And so we created sign. And sign is just a general QC sign off, or a signature for the person who shipped it. So that person now logs in. I'm going to have it be this person, but you see that this person doesn't have the authorization to do shipping. And so I'm going to do it. It'll be me again. So I'll scan the order. And all that's happened is we've signed that order, telling me who the person was. So they would set the scanner down, or they pick it up and scan the next order, and then they scan the next order, and so on and so forth. They do this whenever they ship it. Now, back at our wireless order fulfillment, let's say I want to find out information about an order. Currently, what happens when a customer calls and says, hey, we had a problem with our order, you'll have to say, hey, go get the packing slip and tell me whose initials are by the picked by, the packed by, and the shipped by, generally, depending on your business process. In this case, you can call it this screen without logging in, and you just go here and just type in the order number. So you see that I've searched for it before. So when I hit 8 and hit submit, I'm going to go out there, and in our database, I'm going to look at, and I can tell you exactly who picked it, who verified it, and who signed it, and the times that they did that, and exactly down below it shows exactly what was verified at the time of picking and at the time of verification. So this report's been very helpful, and our customers like it for their customer service department. How you want to handle that is a business rule up to you, but it's information at your fingertips that makes you more efficient in handling customer service issues. All right, so now let me go back to the menu. Okay, I've showed you lookup, I've showed you picked. Pick is just a subset of multi-pick. It works exactly the same way multi-pick does, but it was kind of a training program. When you hire a new picker, you start them off with that. They pick one order, and then you can verify their orders. But then after a week or so, when you're confident that they can do it correctly, you graduate them to multi-pick, and they can pick multiple orders at the same time, that sort of thing. Showed you cycle count. The next question is, okay, how do I receive items? Well, with our system, we make it very easy. Again, we want to track. Let me go back to our wireless order fulfillment right here and show you some of the reports. I'll do the pick report, and the pick report, when I click on it, will run and say, it shows you information about Gordon Jennings, this employee, and how many orders they picked, how many SKUs, and the time, etc. So if you have 5 pickers, 10 pickers, 60 pickers, you can run this report. It goes back 7 days and shows you the productivity statistics of each of your pickers. You can run the same report for verified, and you can run the report for sign. Down here, there's actually a SKU change log. That was one of the things I was going to show you. And what we do in this case is as I said earlier, any move, adds, or change that is made in our system is actually recorded chronologically. You can go back and you can see every move, adds, or change that was done. We have a sorting tool up here where you can filter it by SKU, employee ID, type, location, dates, etc. So it's very helpful for you to track information about your warehouse and find out who did what when. All right, so receive, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'll scan in with my barcode. And now what it says is, okay, what is the purchase order number? Well, I'm going to type it in, or you can scan it. If the purchase order is there on the, let's say a box arrives at the dock, I open it up and there's a packing slip there, and I want to know what's in the box. I can scan the packing slip. It shows me the PO. On this particular purchase order, there are 4 items that are open. That means that there's 4 items that I can receive with this purchase order. They're open in M.O.M. Now, if you're receiving an item that requires a lot number, by definition, that has to be done in the M.O.M interface. You can't do that from our scanner. It has to be done in here. So just that caveat right there. So now what I do is I open up the box, I reach inside, and I scan one of the items. It happens to be e-skates. I don't have any cost in here for confidential reasons, so your cost would actually show up here. The quantity ordered would be here, 325. I've already received 9 of them, and so now it's asking me how many am I receiving at this particular time. And so I would just key in, let's say I want to receive 2 of them, and then I would scan the next item, the VJack, let's say, and let's say I want to receive 2 of those, so I hit enter, and now I scan the next one, and I want to receive 2 of those, and so on and so forth. And the last one, I want to receive 2 of those. Now when I'm done, the box is empty, I'm going to type 999, and it warns me, hey, you didn't close out the purchase order. There's other items there. Yeah, I didn't want to close it out because I use it for demonstration purposes. But in your case, it would warn you, and they could go, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I forgot about this or whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and confirm. And so it exits the purchase order. Now what happens is those items, as soon as I exit, that purchase order has now been updated in M.O.M. And the quantity that you have just received is automatically added to the primary location in M.O.M. And so the quantity in that top location is incremented. And now what happens is we want to use sort put away to put those away. So the idea is that these are sitting on a cart on the dock, and now I want to put them away. So I want to scan my employee ID. And now I'm going to scan, remember there were 2 of everything, so I scan it. I can scan them in any order. And now I've scanned 4 SKUs, there were 2 of each, so there's 8 items. And now it's similar to pick. When I type 977, it will actually take everything that I have to put away, and it will organize them by put away location and start sending you through an organized route through the warehouse to put these items away. They've already been added to the location as I mentioned. So when I get there, it's now telling me to scan the UPC of the Z-ball. So it wants me to confirm that I'm holding in my hand the right item. So I scan it, and it tells me, okay, now scan the location, and I'm going to confirm that I have the right item, and I'm putting it in the right location. And now that one's complete, so it moves me to the next item, which is on aisle A2. I move to that location. I scan the barcode of the item. It confirms that that's correct. I scan the location. It confirms that, and now it moves to the next item. Now, let's say that I picked the wrong item up. It's looking for the VJack. And let's say instead I do a different one. It tells me you've scanned the wrong item. So you want to take the Jack LaLanne workout tape, VHS, and scan it. and then you want to be able to put it in the right location. So in this case, I've moved the location since I last did this demonstration, so I don't have the barcode for it, but I will type that in. It confirms that it's in the right one. And now the last item that I have is the VMAT. I go to aisle C3, the third rack, the fourth shelf, the first bin, and I scan it. And I scan the location. And you get the familiar tune telling me that everything has been put away. And now I can go get more, or I can, go do another task in the warehouse. Sort put away was designed so that you can use it for PO put away, or in your customer service department if you have items that arrive and you inspect them and make sure that the quality is good enough to be put back on the shelf. You can throw them into a return bin, and then you sort put away and scan all those. Sort put away does not increment the count, so you'd have to return them via the M.O.M interface, and it would then credit the customer's credit card for the return, and it would then increment the quantity in M.O.M, and then you'd use sort put away to just put those away. Or let's say that a photographer took about 10 or 12 items off the shelf to take pictures for your website, and now they need to be returned. You can use that as well and put those away. So sort put away is a real versatile program that you can use in many different ways. Bin assign is a real easy program which allows you to assign the bin locations of items simply by scanning twice. So again, it's going to be me. And so I'm going to scan the VJAC, and it tells me that it currently is at A4030201. I want to set it back to the one that I had originally. So I just walk to the location where I'm gonna put it, and I scan that barcode, and now it's now entered into M.O.M, and the location has been changed with the 103 that were in that old location moved to the new location. So bin assign is useful for initially setting up your warehouse when you get a system such as ours, and it's also very convenient when you put things on sale, or when you have seasonal items. For example, best practices say that your warehouse, I'm going to go back to the bird's eye view of the warehouse, best practices say that your fast-moving items, the things that you sell the best, should be up front and be able to get those quickly and get them out quickly. So you do a report, find out where your best selling items are, and you want them to reside in these first two rows right here, so that you can get them boom, 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 and pick the orders quickly and get them out the door. You no longer need to organize by manufacturer, by product type. You don't have to do any of that. For example, a sporting goods store, you can organize by manufacturer, have all your Spalding items in one location, your Voigt, your Wilson, Masuno, all of those in different locations, or you could organize by type, your baseball gloves in one location, your bats in another, et cetera, et cetera. But of those baseball gloves, you have some that are on sale, or some that sell quicker or better than others, so they want to be closer to the front than the ones that you only sell one or two a year of. Likewise, if you have seasonal items, several of our customers sell costumes, and so when Christmas rolls around, they put out their elf costumes and reindeer and Santa Claus costumes on the front shelves so that they can be picked very quickly when Christmas comes and goes, and it's now New Year or Valentine's Day. They can move things around. Halloween's a good example. You have Halloween and then Christmas in quick succession, so you might have seasonal product that needs to be moved up front and back. And so bin assign can be used to effectively manage your warehouse in a way that makes it more efficient for you to respond to items that are on sale or items that are seasonal. But you can see it's very simple. You scan one item, scan one barcode, and scan another, and it's done. So one of the current customers, M.O.M 10 customers that we have, does a lot of business. They're a big company, And there's two philosophies on how you manage your warehouse. One is called a non-chaotic inventory, where items are in the same location every time. So when you deplete that and you sell out of them and you order more, the new stuff comes, it goes in the same location. And then there's a chaotic inventory where you just put things wherever you can put them as long as there's an open bin. And there's this kind of a hybrid. It's both of those. So they wanted to be able to have items, locations, warehouse locations that were fixed, and then we wanted to be able to retire locations and make them available for where other items could go. And so he had me create what we call bin reassign. And with bin reassign, what you can do is you can reassign bins on the fly. So I can log in and I can now go to a bin, and let's say I walk up to a bin and I scan this particular one right here. Then it tells me there's actually 3 SKUs residing in that bin, and I would now choose which of the SKU I want to manage by typing 1, 2, or 3 here. So I want to type 1, and it tells me, okay, I can delete the bin. I can type RB for retire the bin, and I can type SC for status change, or I can type in no change. Now let me go over these. Delete bin will actually delete the bin provided it's empty and it's not the primary bin for the SKU. RB, retire bin, what it will do is it will, if you type in RB and the product has lot numbers, then the program will change the bin description in the bin table to retired, and it will mark the bin as do not sell. In other words, it changes the status to a D. And then, of course, we make an entry in the transaction table. If RB is typed and the lots equals 0, in other words, it doesn't have lots, then bin description is changed to a predetermined description, what we call ZZZ unassigned, and bin is still available for sale, and then it loops back around again. And if you type SC, then what it does is it does a status change from A to D, active to disabled, and back again. So I'll just show you the SC real quick. So I'll type in SC, and its process was successful. So if I scan that location again, you see that in M.O.M, we've changed it from A to D. So the status down here has gone from A to D, and so now it's disabled. That bin is not available anymore in M.O.M to put stuff in, et cetera, et cetera. If I type SC again, it just toggles it back. And so I can go ahead and scan that location again, stipulate the CW, CWS, and then you'll see that its status is back from D back to A again. So it's helpful in their case to be able to change the bin status and retire them, et cetera, as we've shown you here on the fly. So let me go back to the main menu. That kind of concludes our demonstration, and turn it back over to Sean, available for any questions you might have.
Thanks, Gordon. At this time, we're going to pause a little bit. If you guys, want to ask us questions, feel free to ask us in the questions panel. We'll answer those questions. I have a few minutes left, so we're happy to answer some questions. Take a quick break. Once again, if anyone joined, after the fact or joined a little bit late, we will be sharing this recording. if not later today, first thing tomorrow morning. So the recording will be shared with everyone who joined or who didn't. So be able to show that. We do have a few questions here coming up. Just going through here. Let's see what we have here is Ian. I know you're on as well. If there's any questions that Gordon be passing you due to it being mom related, we will ask you to answer that. David asked the questions, are the barcodes produced in M.O.M or via your application? I think the one that you showed earlier, Gordon, and to answer that, it's technically done in that application that you showed or talked about, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the full question. If they're barcodes?
Yeah, the barcodes produced in M.O.M or via your application, the barcode that you were showing, or the barcodes you were showing before, and you talked about an application.
Okay. Can you show my screen again?
Sure.
Okay. On the surface of the desktop, the RF server, when it arrives, there'll be 3 programs here which allow you to print barcodes. Pour-to-Print is these are free programs that are available to our customers. Pour-to-Print, you type in the SKU and then you type in the quantity and you hit print, and it will then print the barcode that I showed you earlier. So the one here on the right, it will print these barcodes. So if I typed in Y-ball and then said 15, it will print 15 of these that will, what you need to do is you need to stipulate the printer. So you'd have to have a barcode printer, ZPL 2844, whatever you have. It needs to be an EPL compatible Zebra printer. We can print to those, and we support these 2 sizes, 2.3 inch by 1 and 2 inch by 1. So Pour-to-Print allows you to print the SKU labels. You can do it at the time of receiving, or at the time, if you're redirecting things. The other program that we give you is Barcode Labeler, which allows you to print a single barcode, or a single barcode multiple times. So I could type in here Y-ball, for example, and I want to print 25 of them, and then it will print to the printer stipulated here, which is a USB printer I have hooked up to this computer. And then Barcode Maker File allows you to stipulate a text file somewhere on the RF server, and it will open that up, and for every item in the text file, it will print 1 barcode. So, for example, on this particular machine, we have a directory called data, and in here we have barcodes.txt. So I created this earlier, and when I open that up, you see that there's the location barcodes are here, and so this allows you to quickly set up and print your location barcodes. Either you can generate this from a CSV file in Excel, or you can go in here manually and type them. Obviously, you can cut and paste and therefore reproduce them very quickly. So those 3 programs are they come on the desktop of the RF server when it's delivered to you, and you can use them to print barcodes.
All right, thanks, Gordon. And next question here we have from Dwayne. What happens when you want to use FIFO and you have multiple locations and don't want the items to go in the primary bin?
When you use cycle count, you can put them in any one that you want. So I can go in receive, when you receive items, by default, the M.O.M API call, which I give, it adds them to the primary bin. So that's a function of the M.O.M API. In cycle count, if I go into cycle count, I'll log back into here. When I go into cycle count, let's say, let me do Y-ball again. Okay, so I can put them in any location that I want. I can actually edit the quantity right here if I want, and it will modify that in M.O.M. So if I wanted to modify the quantity in location 2, I would just type in Q2, and let's say I count them, and instead of 100, there's 105 in there, so I can type in 105. And now the quantity in that location has been adjusted, and it's been entered into that location. So the example I gave of transferring, I transferred from 3 to 1, or I can transfer anywhere, any other location that I want within this SKU. I'm not sure if that answers your question or not, but hopefully it does.
All right, and final question that we have here is from Anson. Are there other printers supported besides the Zebra printer we saw in your demo?
When we program these, we have to write the code in a specific language. So the two that we supported are Zebra EPL and ZPL. And so if you have another printer that doesn't support EPL or ZPL, then we wouldn't support those.
All right, thanks, Gordon, and thank you for answering those questions. I'm going to throw it over to Jim for some final thoughts.
Thanks, Gordon. That was a very informative demo and some great questions. And I just want to take just a little bit of time to talk about some of the things we've seen here today. And Gordon went through the entire process from put away to picking to be able to look at cycle counting. And when you sum it all up, the expectation that you have and where you should get some return on investment looking at a solution like Barcoders, beyond extending the functionality of M.O.M into the warehouse, is to be able to handle a higher volume of warehouse transactions, automated, to be able to capture all of the tasks that are completed, to eliminate errors that may be coming from putting things away in the improper bins, catch those kinds of errors. All those activities will be directed. You should not have the same pressure to add staff to the warehouse as you might have without a solution like Barcoders, simply because by automating the path, automating the task, you'll get more productivity out of each and every worker. The great thing about a solution like Gordon's is that the ROI is tangible. It's real. It's not subjective. You'll be able to see exactly how you'll be able to realize a return on your investment because the tasks are automated and because the results will be very much apparent. You'll be able to document it, to analyze it, and to pinpoint the return on investment. Gordon, thank you again so much, and thank you to all, and I'll turn it back over to Sean.
All right, guys, just to give you, a quick rundown of everything again, these are some of the things that you saw today in Level 1 and Level 2, which are part of the Barcoders integration here. Once again, Gordon went through a lot of the features and a lot of the step-by-step processes, how to work them within Barcoders and M.O.M 10, just once again stressing that it is for M.O.M version 10, using the version 10 API. So here's what we saw at Level 1, and then here's what Level 2 is all about as well. With that being said, thanks once again to Gordon. Thanks to everyone who joined and signed up today. Recording, once again, will be available either later today or first thing tomorrow morning. Send us any of your questions to marketing@freestylesolutions.com. I'll be happy to answer those for you. Download the 2 handouts we have available, and have a great day. Thank you.